Hi guys, welcome to For Those Who Code. In this video, we'll be learning Redux. This video is aimed towards those people who want to get comfortable working with Redux with zero knowledge. We will cover what is Redux, why do we need Redux, alternatives to Redux that are available. We will also be covering some terminologies involved in making application with the Redux like action, reducers, store, dispatch, and connect alongside with some basics of Redux-thunk as well. For reference, you can also find the code link to the GitHub repository down below. So let's get started. So before we start, I assume you have some basic understanding of React and ES6 because we'll be touching these topics as we discuss along. So what is Redux? Redux is actually a state container for JavaScript application, normally with React. You can also use this particular library with any JavaScript framework or just plain vanilla JavaScript as well. You can manage state at the component level and pass the state around via props. So if you're wondering what is state, then we will obviously covering that particular topic after this slide as well. So Redux is a JavaScript library that helps to divide up our application into multiple components but doesn't clearly specify how we keep the track of the data, that is the state, and how to deal with all the events, which is the actions, properly. So Redux acts as a single wrapper and serves as a single source of truth for our whole application. So what is state? State is just a simple JavaScript object. The heart of every React stateful component is its state. It determines how the component should render or behave. You can also remember the state is like a container which holds our current data inside an object, which later can be changed or maybe, in other words, mutated to change its value. So in the blue color that we have here is a sample of a state, and that particular sample contains an article and a set article which uses React hooks, use state hook, which maintains the state of articles and set articles. Articles is the old state and set article is the new state. Here we have the two objects, that is id1 and id2, which holds the current state, that is with the key value pair title article 1 body, and this is some description of article 1, and down article 2, this should be 2. So why we need to learn Redux? As the application grows bigger, we need to maintain our state between multiple components. For example, we have a component A and component B, and these two components pass down props to communicate between each other and to stay in sync. For example, we have thousands of components inside our application. So in that particular scenario, we need Redux. So in absence of Redux, we would pass down props to our component, which later becomes messy. It helps to manage our state by giving access to our components. The state is need, and it's a central store, and the alternatives of Redux can be found like Context API, Flux, or Recoil, which is still in the process of making by Facebook. So here we have a Redux data flow. As you can see, the component here represents our user interface. If a user clicks into a user interface, it invokes an action. So the action dispatches itself and communicates with the store. And then the store then refers to the reducer, and the reducer will be responsible for changing that particular state as per the action received from the actions, and it sends down the updated value to the store, and then the store updates the state, which is reflect in the UI. So we will further dive into this particular diagram later on as well. So for now, let's move on to the next slide. So actions. An action is a payload of information that contains like remove article, article, etc. Actions are dispatched from our components. For example, you can see here, actions are dispatched from our components, and it sends data from our React component to the Redux store. The actions does not reach the store, instead it's just a messenger. The store is changed by the reducer. So here we have a sample of an action, which is delete story. And the type delete story, it's a reducer that it calls. So as we said, the store is changed by the reducer. So delete story here acts as a reducer, whereas delete story is an action invoked. So dispatch. It's simply a method available on the store object that accepts an object used in updating the Redux state. Usually it is invoked by action creators. For example, as you can see, we have made the use of user effect hook, and it dispatches a delete story function. So what is store? A store holds the whole state tree of our React app, where our application state lives. As you can see, it is a big JavaScript object. It holds the current value which reflects upon our user interface. So reducer, it is a pure function that receives the old previous state and the action as an argument, then returns as an output the updated state. The reducer handles only synchronous code. So you may be wondering what happens when we want to call asynchronous code. So we'll get into that. For that one, we need Redux-thunk. In default, React in default, Redux doesn't provide us with asynchronous actions. So for that one, we need Redux-thunk. That means no side effect like HTTP or API request or anything like that. It is responsible in changing the state by taking the action that is dispatched by the action. Here you can see a reducer, which is delete story is a case, and we delete a story and we spread the state and return the new story along with the payload. So let's draw for clarity. So for this sketch, I've been using Miro, which is a design tool. It has a lot of features. You should try that one. It's awesome. So for this one, I will try to replicate a real world case scenario where we have a UI. For example, we have a UI and we have a login button and a log out button. For example, a user clicks the login button, right? So after clicking the login button, the user invokes an action. So we have an action right here. We can also write. So he or she invokes an action, and after invoking that particular action, then the action dispatches. So in other sense, it dispatches an action itself. So after clicking on the login button, it dispatches an action which hits down to the central store. So after hitting down to the central store, then this particular the action that is dispatched by the action, then it communicates with the reducer. And here we have a reducer, and it communicates with the reducer. So so after communicating with the reducer, then it would understand whether it's a login or a logout. So we have a different case inside the reducer, whether that particular action is a login or a logout action. So depending upon the action dispatched by the user, then we just identify that particular action, then we reply back to the store, and the store finally changes our user interface. So actually we have action, store, and reducer. So same goes to our log out. If the action that is dispatched is log out, it communicates to the store. Store refers to the reducer and checks whether it's a login or a log out, and it has different cases inside it to handle that particular scenario, and it communicates the store with a new so-called object. So it has the old object and the new object. The old object is not logged in, the new object is logged in, right? So it communicates to the store, and finally the store reflects back to the UI. Also, we can call this as updates state, right? So actually, this is what is the overview of Redux behind the scenes. So to have a clear understanding of this one, we also need to dive into our code. So let's dive into code to have a better understanding of Redux. So I have already created my project with create a React app, and then what we are gonna do here is we're gonna install packages first. So the packages we're gonna need is Redux and React Redux, and we will also be using React Router DOM, and also we will be having our asynchronous calls inside our Redux, so we need Redux-thunk as well, and we'll be also be using some DevTools extension of Redux, so Redux DevTools extension. I think these are pretty much fine for now. So before we have it, it's pretty quick anyway. So we'll be also be making some folders. So for that one, we can type command mkdir, and the folders that we're going to make are action and components, and then pieces and reducer. So these are some of the folders that we need. So actions, components, pages, uh, actions, component, pages, reduce, action, component, pages, and reducers. All right. So I think these are pretty much fine for now. For now, I will create our index.js file. So where we will be importing our the middleware, the thunk, and the provider here. So for that one, I will import the middleware first. Maybe we don't need a service worker right now, so I will hide it, this one. So import. I think we also don't need to import it because it can be default imported. So for example, I will show it to you. A store is equal to create a store. So we need to import this create store, right? So control and space who would do that. So root reducer. So and then comma, and then we also need to make the use of our dev tools, compose with dev tools, and then apply middleware, which we will be using as thunk for our middleware. So, and ultimately we need to wrap our provider with the provider tag. By the way, we don't need this right now. And then I think we also need to pass down the store here. So let's wrap all of these, format a little bit, and then root reducer is not defined. For that one, I think we need to import the root reducer as well. So root reducer. Okay, let's import root reducer. From for now, we can write reducer. We'll be obviously making our root reducer there, and we have the app as well, and the provider is not defined. So I think for the provider we also need to import the provider. So it didn't import the provider, the auto intelligence. So for that one, I will manually import it. Provider from our React Redux. So yeah, we haven't made our reducer yet. So now let's make a reducer file. For that one, we can name it index.js inside our reducer. So inside here, we can name a constant and name it root reducer. And we can make the use of combined reducers, and then const combined reducer is equal to require. I think this is pretty much all syntax that we have. I'll write the import, and it's a named import. That's why we need curly braces. So not this one. Combined reducer, and from Redux. So we can write our reducer here. For right now, we can add. We'll be making some post reducer. So we will be posting some articles. So we'll be furthermore diving into that one as well. So export into default root reducer, and then for the post reducer we need to import it. So import post reducer from, we haven't made that file yet, so we'll be definitely combined. Okay, it should be combined reducer. So I think it's pretty much fine for now. So finally now we'll make the post reducer that we imported right here, and we can set up the initial state inside our post reducer. So inside here we'll make another file and call it post reducer.js. So export const initial state. So first of all, we need to define initial state where we will have some posts which would be initially null, and then the initial value of loading would be false, and has errors, it should be false, has 0 false. So and ultimately export default function, and then post reducer. It takes state, initial state, and then action, and then we need to define some switch statements now. So we make a switch statements, and inside here will have some accent types. So according to the accent type, we return state. So and the default, it would return the state. Well, I have rectified a pretty silly mistake. I have made some of my um, uh, so-called folders outside of SRC. So I moved inside of SRC, and it's working pretty much fine for now. And we also have the Redux Chrome DevTools extension activated as well. So now let's move on to our next part. The next part would be setting up our Redux actions. So inside our actions, we need to add some the actions, like we need to get the post, and we need to add some actions for the post success, the post failure as well. So inside there, I need to add some of the actions that we need. So I'll create a file, post actions.js. So inside here, we will define our action types. So export const and get post. So get post, and then we also need to export get post success. And obviously we will be using our free APIs available. For that one, we'll be using JSON placeholder. So export const get post failure. So inside here we can have get post failure, and here we have get post success. Now we need some function that needs to return an action, which consists of some type of an optional payload containing some data. So for that one, we need to add export const get post, which is a function. So inside here, we will be defining its type, which is get posts. And meanwhile, let's copy this one and let's paste two of these, and we need to have get post success and get post failure as well, and the type would be the same that we defined earlier, that is get post success and get post failure. So let's save it. So now let's make some asynchronous thunk action that helps us to combine all of these three actions here, and we will ultimately be dispatching the initial get post action to inform the Redux and to prepare for our API call, right? So for that one, we got to do here is we got to add some API that we have. So we will be using JSON placeholder dot TP code. So and we'll be not having to-dos, but instead of we'll be working with posts. All right. So we can also pass down our um, uh, query params like 1 or 2 to get one single post. For now, we will just add that particular post, right? So inside our file here, we got to add another function. So let's write export function, and let's call it fetch posts. And inside here, we need to return dispatch, and then we need to dispatch our get post that we created, right? Because we are fetching posts right here. So dispatch get posts, and then we need to have a try block, and we need to also have our catch block as well. So inside our try block, we will create a constant and name it res. For that one, we will be using our, you can also use Axios if you want, but for right now we're using just fetch that we have that JavaScript provides us. So we will be reading dispatch await. Okay, fine. It can a single async can have multiple awaits as well. So no worries, great. So now the data would be res.json. So then we'll be ultimately dispatching get post success right here, right? So we can copy this one because I'm quite lazy typing. Get post success, and then get post success. Great. And then we can pass down our data here. So I think we are pretty much okay for now. And we can also dispatch if there is an error, then we can dispatch our get post failure as well without any parameters there. So I think we are all done creating our actions now, and the only thing that's remaining is to tell the register what to do when the state on the each action changes. So for that one, we need to add up some of the post reducers as well, right? So for that one, we will create another folder right here, which is, I think it's pretty much created. Okay, so inside here we need to define some I think some additional cases inside here, additional maybe three. Well, this particular post reducer actually haven't been imported, neither we have imported anything here. So let's go ahead and post action post reducer. Let's split it right. Let's call up this one, and let's import our actions here. So we want to import all of our actions, not just one, from probably actions and then post actions, right? So we need to add a new case. For that one, let's add a action.types. So let's add a case of get post inside our action.type, right? So case actions dot, which would be this one right here, action dot get posts, right? So it returns our old state, and I mean make a new state, a copy of new state, and then set the loading to true. So we can also have our same cases for our get post success and get post. I think I made another mistake right here. It should be failure. Get post success. I think this should be failure as well. Okay, and right here we can add up another case, actions dot get post success, and then we need to return something, and the thing that we need to return in an is an object, obviously. So we need to return the post, which is action dot payload, and set loading to false, and then has errors to false. And we can also add up more. Okay, let's add up another case. So for that one, we'll copy this one and paste it, because I'm quite lazy typing it. We can copy the failure and paste it as well. For the failure, it spreads the new state, and then set the loading to false, and has errors to true. I think we're pretty much okay till now, and we haven't get rid of this particular thing right here. Let it spin a little bit of its time. So now our action and registers are quite ready for now. So now the thing that's left to do is to connect everything to our React application. So let's move ahead and create our connection. So for creating our connection, let's move on to app.js file here, which is our main entrance of our application, which is generally index.js, but anyway, inside here we need to import our browser and switch statement that we have, and get the list of posts, and later on we'll also be getting some post IDs as well. So inside here, let's try to make some changes. For now, I will write down browser router okay, as router, and then we also need is switch, and then route, and then redirect from React router DOM. Great. So we'll be getting rid of these stuff right here, all of these, and then we'll be wrapping everything inside a router, and then close our router, and inside our router tags right here will be making the use of our switch that we imported. So switch, and inside our switch we will define our routes. For now, let's define just one route, which is our post route, right? So for that one, route, and I want it to be exact, exact, and the path would be the home, which is just nothing but 11, and the component that I want to load is posts page. I think, oh sorry, we need to add one more route, and then we need to get rid of this component, and we need to let's not set up our redirect. We can have our we don't need a redirect anyway. For now, let's just go with this one, and obviously we don't need our logo as well. Let's save that one. Post page is not defined. All right, now let's go to our pages, and inside here we need to add our post page. So we will make new file and call it it can be uppercase, I think, post page.js. So inside posts we need to import rmr. So create a constant and call it posts page, and then we can return some JSX, and then add up some fragments that if we need, and inside here we can just have an atom where we have our post page, and obviously we need to export default post page. Okay, I think pages, post page, and component post page. Okay, we need to add post page as well. All right, so this is the post page. Great. So now let's go to our components, and then inside our components, let's bring up our a component for our posts, right? So post.js. So inside here we can imr, and then we can just directly export const and call it post, and then which we take post as a prop, which comes from our post piece, but we haven't passed any, but we will pass our props from there surely. So inside here we can have some div for now, and then inside here we can have an h2 where we will have this post dot title, and if we go here we have the title and the body, right? ID, title, and body. So we have the post title, and then for the paragraph let's add some body that we have, which should be post dot body. So I think for now it's pretty much fine. So so inside our post page now, what we can do here is we can import our connect, and then we need to add some of the props that it receives, which is loading. We have made that particular thing inside our reducers. So if you take a look at our reducer, then you can see here loading has errors and posts, which will take those three state and destructure it inside here. We also need to map our Redux state to React component props as well. So for that one, we need to make use of map state to props, which takes the state and then which returns an object of loading and state dot post dot loading, and then we don't need this one. All right, so we also can have our post, which is state dot post dot posts, and then has errors. So for that one, we can access it from state dot posts dot has errors right here. So I think let's place this outside our return. I think this is an object, it should be wrapped inside this one and a bracket, and we need to export default, connect map state to props, and pass down our posts page. Post page right here. So I think we are all the default options are all in the model export default. There are two exports, and those were not a named export, so we can have a two export inside one particular command. So if we take a look at our application, we can read property loading of undefined. So state dot post dot loading, state dot post dot loading. Let's try out with state dot loading. Well, it was state dot post dot loading and state dot post dot post, which is pretty much fine for now. For now, we don't have anything inside our state, so for that one, we need to add some dispatch action inside our post page. So we can go to our post page, which is here. So inside here, what we got to do here is we got to add a use effect, which is maybe, I think this is the same page. I've already opened it, and we are currently working on that page. How weird is that? Anyway, inside here, we need to make the use effect and call our, and dispatch our actions from here. So for that one, we need to add dispatch, and then we need to dispatch is get posts, right? Dispatch, not an event, but dispatch fetch, get posts, or and then we can dispatch here and posts page. We also need to import fetch posts from our actions, or get posts, or I think it's not get posts, it's fetch posts. So fetch posts, we need to import that one, and then we already have use effect import, and let's save that one. Dispatch is not defined. So for that one, dispatch fetch actions, we need to add dispatch here as well. And as you can see, we have our post here, and currently we don't loading false and post, get post success false. Let's print our post, or maybe we can let's see, we don't have the list of posts, so post so now let's go ahead and map our the post that we received. We haven't made the use of this particular post loading and has errors, so that's why we don't see anything. So for that one, we need to add a constant, maybe render post. So we can call it const render post, and then for that one, sorry, it should be posts. Okay, render post const, let's const post, and then inside here what we can check is if it's loading. If loading, we will return some JSX, and inside here we can add loading, and if it has errors, then we can return maybe paragraph for now, unable to display post. So, and in default we can return post.map, or maybe what we can do here is we can import this particular component right here, and we can pass post as a prop, and we can map our post inside here. So component, for that one I can just write post, and then I think we don't need these right here, and add some slash. So let's put in a function called keywords post .js render post. Okay, I think I got the point. Let's save our final changes, and now yeah, okay, as you can see, we can see the loading as well. If we want to see the loading, then you can go to our sources, Control S, and then you can go here and then look at the loading, right? So if we hit the refresh again, and here we have our data. Yeah, I think this is basically what we have for Redux. So Uh, Guys, I hope you got some initial ideas on making your React application with Redux and Redux-thunk. So thank you so much for watching my videos. If you guys want to learn more about design and development, please like, share, and subscribe with a click down below. I'll be trying to make more better videos like this one. So see you in the next one, guys.